Guys. This is Whitney and Sarah. Good morning. Depending on where you are, it could be morning, afternoon, evening. It's Saturday morning for us. And we are on January 14th of 2023. So we wanted just to do a live and check in with the energies and check in with you guys and see how you're doing and see how you're feeling. And if you've been able to catch my videos over the past several days, I've been talking a lot about Mars going direct and how that's having a direct effect on us individually. So Mars is an inner planet, an individual planet. So we're really feeling the effects of that in really hopefully positive ways. And if you haven't felt the positive shift yet, brace yourself because it's definitely coming. And we will be answering some questions today. So please type your questions in the chat. Any questions you have about the energies, about astrology, about what the heck is going on, physical symptoms, ascension, all of the above. And we'll also pull a few cards. We're being guided to pull a few cards today. So I'll let Whitney say hello and then we'll get started.
Good morning. I was really excited about doing this and I was like, oh, it's going to be so great. And then I woke up and I was like, oh my gosh, I spent my entire night um, having such big dreams that I was like, I feel like I need a break from my dreams, like a reset. And that has been the major theme for me the last couple of weeks. It's been nonstop, all of this activity in my sleep, which ties directly in with what we're dealing with, which is at least in this part of the world, where we're in winter, and winter is the deep underground, and sitting back and tending to all of the things that we don't have time to in the spring and the summer. And so it's been very interesting to kind of delve below the surface, and that's one of the major things we're going to run into this year, is that a lot of stuff is happening below the surface,
Mm,
and it's like massive work that is happening, and I'm definitely feeling it today.
yeah. And I don't know if you guys, in addition to the dream state, which are very heightened at this time, um, some of you may be remembering your dreams, or like me, they're getting interrupted by my kitties or by just external noise or neighbors or what have you, where I get up to go to the bathroom. So then they get interrupted. And I can tell that they're really significant, but I'm not able to remember them. So that could be happening as well. In addition to that, it doesn't mean that you're not receiving the downloads or the information that you need. You're still receiving those downloads. And remember, if you guys have been following me on either of my channels, you'll know that I don't believe that anything outside of us can save us. So we're doing the work. We've been healing for years and purging and healing and purging and having tower moment after tower moment. Now we're in the process of integration. Now we're in the process of receiving those downloads, of bringing those new gifts online, of really honing in on what the specialty gifts are that we are able to offer. So we're out of that healing phase. It doesn't mean that you're not going to experience physical ascension symptoms. But one of the things, because Whitney and I were just chatting before we hopped on here, we're both, we woke up with puffy eyes and sinuses blocked and ears ringing and feeling like you have, I don't know, weight in your head. And it's like, oh, and yesterday I felt great. So you might be noticing from day to day, you're going to be feeling very different. I think it's really important to flow with these energies and not fight them or resist them, because the more we fight and resist them, the more they're going to go, oh, she needs or he needs more of that. He wants to
Mhm.
experience more of that. We did sign up for this, and it's easy to resist. It's easy to fight back. It's easy to get angry or upset. We did sign up for this. So remembering that and remembering who we are is going to be really important throughout 2023.
Yeah, and I will say, Sarah, there is a question that Serena just asked, and it is much more your field to answer that one.
Okay, Serena. Hey, Serena. She says, this is year path. Oh, why did it just go away? Give me a second. Year path 9 for me. I have been told by
Mhm.
spirit to get ready, but I have no idea what. Can the cards shed any light for me? I'm a life path 1 person. Interesting. So you're in a 9 year. So we're talking about numerology for those of you watching, which is really interesting. I'm not a numerologist, but I study it. I think it's fascinating. So a 9 year means you're wrapping a cycle up. So when spirit is saying get ready, I mean, that could really mean anything. And I think also what's coming to a close is us needing to know what's next.
Yes.
So that, right? So it's like it's that controller, right? We have these parts of our personality, the doer, the controller, the freaker outer, right? Who has a freaker outer, that wants to
Oh, yeah,
just
absolutely.
freak out about everything. And so the controller is sort of being limited at this time, and we're being just made to trust what's happening, Serena. So I would say, I don't have, I mean, we can definitely pull some cards for you, but I don't know off the top of my head what that's going to be. And the cards might even be a little cheeky too, because the cards might not want you to know exactly what's going to happen, because that would spoil the surprise. And if we're honest with ourselves, the reason that life is so exciting and challenging is because we don't know what's next. That's what makes it amazing. We could fall in love in the next minute. We could meet the our new best friend. We could be offered an amazing job with amazing money. We could go on this incredible vacation that changes our lives, or we could lose someone we love. We could go through sorrow and pain. So that's part of life is, it's that dichotomy of the joy and the terror and the darkness and the light. So I would say really just settle in and get really comfortable with the not knowing. And as a
Uh,
life path one for you, that's super exciting. Life path one to me is childlike. It reminds me of Aries energy. It's going to plunge you into anything and everything. You're a discoverer in this lifetime. So you're here to discover. You're here to, there's an element with a life path one. There's an element of immortality, and there's because children don't know that, they just think they're going to live forever. So you have that you can play with that aspect of your personality of really being more adventurous. But also there's this element of wanting to explore. So you're an adventurer, an explorer, and you're an achiever. A life path one's here to achieve, right? It's like a brand new slate has been wiped clean for you in this lifetime, for any other life path ones out there. And now you get to open all the doors and explore and experience all of them. And there's going to be different lessons and gifts and things that are going to really startle you and bring out those gifts in each of those doors. So I think for you it could be very easy to get bored with routine and monotony, even if it may be hard to admit that to yourself. So think about how maybe you can switch up your routine, because that's really going to feed that life path one. Now, know that as a life path nine, next year, 2024, will be a life path one. So that will be your life path and then the year of one. So it's one in one. So that's going to be really powerful. I would expect brand new beginnings for you in 2024. I mean, brand new beginnings, very exciting. And I think you're prepping for that. You're going to be closing out cycles this year. You're going to be closing out the things that don't work. You're going to be closing out karma this year. Doesn't mean it's bad. It doesn't mean you have to be, on your toes and always be alerted. It just means that expect things to shift in a major way. I would say love life, career, everything, probably in every possible manner. But it's exciting because you're cleaning and excavating.
the not knowing what to do. We all like to know what to do. I love to know what's coming next. The current energy says that time is shifting so quickly right now that even what we know right now may not hold true in a month's time. But the other part is that when we are certain what's coming, we, our thoughts, our words, our energy is so powerful. It kind of creates a placeholder in our future, and we're pulling ourselves towards that. So when we know what's coming, we almost pigeonhole ourselves. We limit additional possibility. So that uncomfortable limbo of not knowing what's coming next means that the the potential outcomes are so much greater than if we said, "Oh, I know this is going to happen, and then this is going to happen, and then this is going to happen." Like maybe that's what's going to happen, but it could be something so much grander. And if we try to define it, divine it, set it in stone, then we've set it in stone, and we've now cut off all of these other potential paths. So this is what I struggle with, but this is also part of what Sarah and I were talking about, because we move so much from a linear standpoint. We want like A and then B and then C and then D. I mean, we do this with our time. We do this with everything. And right now we're like, it's like we're on a trampoline, like this energetic trampoline, and we don't know where we're going to land next. And and this is new. this is unusual because, previously we have historically moved in a linear fashion, and that's no longer the case. We're doing like quantum leaps. It's just massive change, but it's also massive potential, and it's really exciting. Um, but the flip side of that is it's really freaking scary.
Yeah. I don't know anybody that I can think of in my physical reality, friends, family, etc., who know what's coming next. Everyone in some aspect of their life or in multiple aspects is in limbo right now, and myself included. And so get real comfortable with not knowing. Getting real comfortable with, because honestly, that's where everything originates from. That's where our creativity originates from. If you think about the feminine, it's darkness, right? The masculine, historically is the sun is the light and the feminine is the moon, the dark. The feminine represents that which we can't see, but we can feel, we can experience. So we're getting real comfortable with those, not even shadow energies, just the energies that we can feel, but not necessarily see. Hey, Chris. Ah, Chris is here. How's it going, Chris? I got your email, by the way, and I will respond in a thoughtful manner. I just wanted to make sure I had the time. So, Chris has followed me on my other channel, and Chris is one of our moderators, an amazing human, and has gone through an incredible transformation. Yeah, so I'm going to share just a little bit. So, Chris has recently realized that, um, you know, that we don't have to seek outside of ourselves for, let's say, the other half, or, oh, I'm the feminine, there's the masculine. That I am the embodiment of all there is. I am the embodiment of the masculine. I am the embodiment of the feminine. What an empowering, incredible journey to reach that place. And I think that's where we're all reaching. And I think part of this, Serena, could also be that there's an element, what's coming through intuitively is there's an element of you that says, I'm really scared to be great. I'm really scared to leave the comfort of not even being less than what I know I could be, but just what's comfortable. So it's kind of like, Whitney said, talking about the trampolines, we're just kind of bouncing, we're trampolining. There's a trampoline that's sort of like the kiddie trampoline that's easy and we can just, we're bouncing, but we're not doing any tricks or flips. And then there's one over here that's really enticing and exciting. And it's the one that allows you to jump real high. You can jump with a partner, they can double bounce you, you can do flips and tricks. But it's scary because you might bounce off of it and it might take the wind out of you. And I think that's what's happening for you, Serena, and for so many people is, if I go over there and check out that trampoline, I don't know where it's going to take me. But if I stay on this one, I know exactly where it's going to take me. It's like a train. Okay, I'm going to stop here and here. And then there's this train that's like, I don't know, I'll stop wherever I feel like it. And so, can we get comfortable with uncomfortability? Can we get comfortable with the unknown? Can we get comfortable with feeling a little off balance so that we can ignite the true essence of our soul? You know?
um, as far as meditation, uh, there are lots of types of meditation, and the sitting still piece is only one type. And if you are struggling with that right now, some moving meditation might be more beneficial. It doesn't have to be super busy, but just walking or doing menial tasks that require zero brain power. Like for me, it's stuff like, like washing dishes or folding clothes or whatever. But these are forms of meditation simply because you can drop into your body and the mind starts to slip into a different space, and it's different than when you are doing a sitting meditation. And sometimes I just don't have the ability to do that. So play with some different stuff, Serena, is my suggestion right now.
Yeah. Yeah, and don't shame yourself, for anybody out there watching, don't shame yourself for not being able to sit and meditate because, I mean, initially, I would start, if you're going to try the seated meditation, start with a minute. Start with, I mean, seriously, start with 30 seconds, start with 3 minutes, and then work your way up gradually. And if you need guided meditation, which is what I still do, no shame. Don't shame yourself. Don't think that you're doing it wrong just because it doesn't look a certain way, or just because we tend to have these expectations, even in meditation. What you'll notice in meditation, especially right now, because the chatter is so strong and loud right now, the ego is dying. So you will likely notice if you're meditating right now at this time in humanity, as we're going through this massive shift, all your thoughts come to the surface, all your buts, your what ifs, your future expectations or future plans or what happened in the past or what happened today or yesterday. That's all going to come up. And it's our job to just realize that we're not our thoughts. We're not our actions. We're not our past. We're not our stories. We can see them and witness them, but that we don't have to obsess over them. And we don't even have to push them away, because the more you try to push those thoughts away during meditation, the more they're going to come back at you and try to grab your attention. That's what will happen. That's what the mind does. Just get comfortable with knowing that the thoughts are going to be there during meditation, and then bring yourself back to the breath. Find an anchor, whether it's the breath or it's a mantra, or maybe you have mala beads. So for a lot of people who are what is the word where you're really good with your hands, or you have to be kind of doing something, there's a word for that I can't think of. But if you need that stimulation, then get some mala beads or get some crystals or something that you can just have your hands busy while you're meditating. But there's no right or wrong way to practice mindfulness.
And yes, jump rope can be one, particularly when you're doing the proper breathing with it. That is a way to do a moving meditation. So,
Yeah, listen to Chris. Chris has been on this journey for several years, and is just such an incredible supporter. And you know, it's just so true that when we avoid like the unthinkable, we avoid the things that scare us, and then when we finally do them, we're like, huh, it really wasn't that bad. What did I read yesterday? It was actually this morning. I was scrolling through Instagram, and someone I'd never seen before popped up on my feed. And she was a 50-year-old mother of seven. And she was a professional dancer before. And she said, I wasn't even going to post this because I was so afraid of the shame or of shaming myself. And she put some music on and started dancing. And she was so good. And it was so fun to watch her. And she's like, but I don't look like I used to. And I'm not as thin and I'm older. And it's like, nobody cared. Everyone was just so excited to see that she was doing what she wanted to do, and she was putting herself out there, moving through the fear to get to the other side. So do the things that scare you, even if they're small, even if you think that you can't conquer that fear. Do the things. Ask a friend to join you, or talk through it, with a trusted person. Do those things. And I
yeah,
think that,
movement is right now particularly how we move through emotion. It's how we unlock the emotion. It's how we allow it to flow through us, because
yeah.
when it gets stuck, that's where we have our issues. So movement is particularly important right now.
Something I used to use when I was teaching yoga was, I would say, consider this meditation in motion. So we're meditating on the mat. Your mat can be your place of meditation. It could be walking in nature, observing nature, going to a nature preserve, watching the snowfall. There's just, dishes, laundry, like Whitney said. There's so many ways that we can access that. And there's no right or wrong way to access mindfulness. There just isn't.
I mean, a lot of my biggest ahas have come when I'm cutting the grass. And I'm like, I've got a big issue right now and I don't know how to fix it. And obviously I can't. And I'm going to go cut the grass. And then I get done and I'm like, and there we go. Like it's done. Like truly,
Yeah.
it is really, you got to find the ways that allow you to stop doing in meditation, they call it monkey mind. But honestly, these days it's just everybody's mind. It's like the
Mhm.
hamster wheel, and you've got to find the things that work. Like honestly, right before this call, I pulled a card, and it's from the animal apothecary deck, which I love. But the card I got was get out of your head, and it's the chicken, and we all have seen the videos of what happens to a chicken when you cut its head off. I mean, for those of us who haven't experienced it live, but you cut the chicken's head off and it still runs around, right? And this is what we do right now. And this is literally the message that I got this morning is we've got to stop doing that. So find what works,
Mhm.
because when you do, you will sink into that place where things actually start to occur. They start to move. Things are happening the way they're supposed to,
Right.
and they're happening for our highest good. It's just that our highest good doesn't always look like rainbows and unicorns, because that's not how we access the magical goodness. It's moving through all of the places, the highs and the lows.
I think oftentimes people think, mystical or the spiritual, and you think, oh, I'm going to be dancing with fairies and butterflies and angels, and I'm going to hear angel, and you might, and that is part of the mystical experience. But I think even a greater part of the mystical experience as a human being in this flesh form is going through the grit and the grind and feeling like you're being pulverized, literally, because the ego has to die. We have to shed those layers of who we have been taught that we are, of all that we've think about everything you've been told, everything you've experienced in your lifetime, and then put that all into a package, and that's your personality. That's the ego. We think we're the ego. We think we're the thoughts. We think we're the thing that we did when we were 5 or 10 or whatever. We are not. And so it's freedom from that limited perspective. But it's so important to note that the mystical isn't just this amazing angelic experience. We are humans. If we just wanted to live in that space, we would not be in physical form. We're in physical form to experience all there is down here on this plane in this dimension. And it often feels really yucky and really fucking hard. And I think, all of us are probably guilty of spiritual bypassing at one point or another. Oh, love and light. Love and light. Oh, I know you're going through the worst, period or pain of your life. Love and light. Well, that doesn't necessarily help the person who's literally laying on the ground, going through a dark night of the soul to hear love and light, because it doesn't feel love and light to that person. They need to express their anger. They need to have someone who honors their pain, who can sit with them and say, I know this is really horrible. I know this is really painful, and that's okay. And we're going to get through this. So I think we're moving from that place of spiritual bypassing to a place of more honesty.
Which goes back to the integration piece, because you cannot have um, like the wholeness without having both the light and the dark. You can't have um, fullness without fullness of all experience, which includes, the difficult and the easy. So it's this full this is really what we are doing is integrating all of this. And yes, Christian, absolutely. I'm working on a program right now that is all about the alchemy of the darkness, because I've gained far more from that than I ever have from any of the
Mm.
fabulous, wonderful times. Um, and there is such a beauty in like living, like wallowing in the muck of it, because it doesn't matter how much you want to avoid it. It's here, and the harder you resist, the more you're going to be beat up by it. So resistance is futile, right?
Yep.
So we have to um, take time to say, okay, I'm just gonna wallow. I'm gonna delve into the muck and the mud and the dirt and the grossness of whatever it is that life is handing me right now. And I am going to emerge eventually. Like, it may take somebody throwing me a rope and dragging me through the mud, but like, I am going to emerge from this. And whatever I emerge as is going to be a fuller version of who I currently am trying to avoid becoming.
Oh, I love that. Who I am trying to avoid becoming. The ego will avoid, avoid, avoid at all costs. I mean, the ego will put up every pretense, every false mask, every
Mhm.
but no, but you shouldn't do that. But what if this happens? What if I try? What if I'm courageous and I ask that person out? What if they say no? So what? Right? What if I go after that job and I don't get it? So what? We lose more from not trying than we do if we actually try. I can't tell you how many times I've worked myself up only to do the thing to find out that usually the answer is yes, first of all. And I think partially because of your courageousness, the answer is yes, because people feed into that. We feed off of each other. So when someone's courageous enough to go after something they love or they want, the answer is usually yes, but it might be no. But if you're okay with the no, if you're okay with the unknown, then it's going to be a lesson in love. It's going to be a lesson in just finding another part of yourself and loving that part of yourself that, in the past you might have felt like, oh, this is rejection. And then you can love yourself to the point of wholeness that says, actually, this is just part of my path. And I'm so glad I asked that question, whatever it was, or did that thing, because now I'm not afraid to do it anymore. Our fears are so much mental. They're mental, and then we make them this big, 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 big thing, and then we exploit them into the physical, and we think it's the end of the world, but it's not. So the more ferocious we can get with conquering our fears in 2023, the better experience we're going to have. Um, I really feel like 2023 is a year of exploring the self more. And I think we're going to see a lot of people really devoted to discovery of self versus, as a humanity, we've really felt the need to attach to others, to be in relationships and get married and have the kids and the white picket fence. And now it's more like, but do you love yourself? And this is the question that we're asking each other and we're asking ourselves now. It's not, oh, well, how many kids do you have? Oh, are you married? And now I used to get those questions a lot. Now the question is, well, who are you? What do you like to do? What are you all about? And I think that's allowing people to feel very comfortable just being wherever they are, whether they're married and couple up, whether they're single, whether they have kids, whether they don't, whether uh, they live in the same city that they were born in or they've explored. It's just being real comfortable with yourself. And then when we add on an additional person, if we choose to a partner, it's so much more luxurious. It's so much juicier because we love ourselves and we accept ourselves. And I think we're really moving into that chapter of I am a person by myself. And if I choose to have a partner, that person is not an extension of me, but they're a choice. They're the icing on the cake.
Yeah, again, it goes back to the wholeness and the integration. And instead of looking for that in someone else, we are turning inward and finding it within ourselves,
Yeah.
which is the only place to find it.
Right.
But when it comes to going back, circling back to dreams and the divine feminine, the divine masculine, the dichotomy, right now, you may find that you are dreaming of family members. And
Mhm.
like when I am going through a lot of stuff, I tend to have a lot of dreams where I've got male family members that pop up in dreams. And I'm like, but they are not literal. They are more, for me, it's where the protector shows up. It's the masculine piece of my psyche. And that's how it presents in dreams, um, in a recognizable form.
Mhm.
So if you are seeing that crop up, it may be pieces of your own energetic balance trying to come through and support.
Totally.
Because, like we said, you may not remember the dreams, but a lot of this stuff is happening on the astral plane because things are getting more. I don't know that condensed is the right word, but it's again, it's integration. Instead of things happening only in the physical or only in the astral, it's like they're happening everywhere. And we are able to access places and pieces that we can't from just here. So it's all happening at the same time for us and with us. And so you're going to see stuff change and shift, and you're going to go, well, I didn't realize this was happening. It's going to be like, holy shit, I was over here and now I'm over here and I don't remember how I got here. um
Yeah.
not necessarily physically, but like on a emotional, energetic level, you're gonna be like, I've up leveled, and I don't feel like I went through the process. Um, so it's very interesting because I'm having a lot of my like uncles and cousins and stuff showing up in my dreams, and I'm like, oh, it's great to see you, but also, oh, clearly this is where I am doing energetic work in the masculine on the
Yeah.
astral plane.
Such an important topic. again, so I asked a trusted spiritual teacher of mine, what are your thoughts on twin flames and soulmates? And it was so interesting. And he hopped on the question. He said, well, I think it's really fascinating. And I think it's interesting. And I think we needed that for a while. We needed sort of that definition, a definable element of what this relationship is to us. But what's happening to a lot of people is no longer feeling the need to define that connection or any connection. Just, I love this person and I can love them unconditionally, whether they're here physically or not. And I experienced that last week with a soulmate, coming back into my life. And I think probably permanently at this point, but we've both shifted so much. And it was such a beautiful interaction. One of the most beautiful interactions I've ever had with another human being, especially of the opposite sex. And it validated so much. And I'm sure it did for him as well. But one of the things that he said to me, which was so poignant, was I realized that I don't have to, after a while that, after we didn't talk, because we had gone years without talking, he said, and I missed you and I really yearned to connect with you. He said, but I realized that I didn't have to have you physically in my life to appreciate you. That's unconditional love. And that's what, we don't have it yet on this planet. That's what we're working towards on this planet, is being able to unconditionally love without, he wanted me in his life selfishly, but it wasn't the right time and I needed to go back and heal. And now it is the right time. And he said, I always knew that you would come back. And I think we're going to see a lot of connections come back into our lives. And a lot of people have asked me, what does that mean? I don't need to know what that means. I don't need to slap a label on it. I don't need to try to figure out, oh, does this mean we're going to get back together or that he's the one? I don't know. And I'm excited to not know. I just know that right now that interaction was beautiful to me and I'm so appreciative, and that he's a person in my life, and that's all I need to know. And so if someone is coming back, if these connections, in particular love connections, but it could be family members as well, if they're coming back into your life for any reason, try not to dissect it, try not to slap a label on it, because that's going to take away the magic. If I had been like, well, what does this mean? And it would have completely taken away, it would have deflated that beautiful balloon that we had just created. Instead, we created this beautiful balloon and it just sort of floated away and it'll go where it needs to go for the greater good of not just us, but people who we touch, and it's that ripple effect. So allow things to be as they are. It would be my best and greatest advice for these first few months of 2023. Allow things to be as they are. And if you feel the need, because I was the one that reached out to him, so if you feel that need to reach out to someone, I would say do it. Trust your instinct. I didn't think about it. That's the thing, guys. I didn't think about it. There was no thought. I picked up my phone and I texted him. He responded immediately. It was like no time had passed. It sort of felt like not sort of, it felt like a huge timeline shift. Like we just shifted. Like those years that we didn't talk didn't even happen. It was like from there to there, just like Whitney is saying, and she expresses it so eloquently. It's from there to there, and suddenly I go, "Oh my God, how did I get here?" But I got there because of the work that I've done and because of the work that he's done clearly. And that's how we were able to get there. So I think if we can just step back from, especially those of you who are single and maybe even looking or hoping or desiring, step back from that need or even that hope or desire and just be the wholeness that you are. You will attract that which you are. So when you're whole and when you feel good and content, you will attract that in droves to you, not just romantically, but new friends and experiences. And when you feel like you're in lack, because, guys, when we're looking, we're in lack. We're telling the universe, I don't have this thing, whether it's money or luck or a partner or the house or whatever, the car that we want or the clothes or whatever it is. We're saying, I don't have that. I'm in lack. So you're in a lack energy signature. If you want to shift that and you actually want to attract those things into your life, shift yourself. You shift yourself, you will shift your circumstances. None of the answers are outside of us. So when people say do the work, that's what they mean. Shift you to shift your circumstances.
Yeah, and one of the things that came through last night for me is that we've got to utilize our resources wisely right now. And I'm not talking about um, rationing food, okay? But that, like, quite frankly, at least in the US, that's something that has come up a lot over the last couple of years. But it's more our energetic resources. We've got our bandwidth is different because we're doing so much energetic work. We have to pay attention to how and where we're using our energy. And we can't just push, push, push the way we are used to doing. We've got to say, okay, I've got this much bandwidth and I need to take care of this, this, and this for myself. So let me utilize this. And then what I've got left over, I can put towards supporting others or wherever that needs to go. But we've got to really pay attention to how we're using our emotions and our energy right now because like I'm getting exhausted
Yeah.
just by going through the day-to-day stuff, just like the
Mhm.
normal, regular, everyday stuff. And I get to the weekend and I'm like, holy moly, I can't do much today because I have to rest. And we're going to have to attend to that. And right now, when we're in more like actual darkness, it gives us the opportunity to say, okay, let me set myself up well, let me pay attention to this now before we get into the rush and the madness of spring and summer and all of this, because it's not going to get better because we are doing so much stuff. So we're going to have to just, again, utilize resources with intention. Pay attention to where you're spending your energy and what fills you up and what drains you so that you can ensure that if you've got to do the draining activities, you've got them balanced with the ones that really fill you up. So
On a day-to-day
on a
basis.
day-to-day basis. Yeah, so if
Yeah.
like taking that phone call from somebody, you know that when you get off the phone with them, you're always like, "Oh," then make sure you limit when that happens or you do it
Mhm.
when you are well resourced.
Mhm.
Okay? Don't do it when you're already like below the surface
And don't
because
do it
then
because you feel like you have to, or
right.
notice when you're people pleasing and when you're doing something to appease somebody or because you feel, well, I'm gonna feel guilty. I hear people say, oh, I feel guilty if I don't answer the call when my mom calls or whatever. Well, that is something for you to address.
Yeah,
That's
but
something
right
to
now,
look at.
these things that are cropping up, they are allowing us to see where do we give away our energy in ways that we can't sustain them,
Yeah.
And we're in Capricorn, so it's balance, 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 balance. We are Capricorn's the mountain goat, like balanced on the the side of this mountain.
Mm,
So we are given an opportunity to see where we're imbalanced, which for most of us is everywhere. Um, but it allows that like all of this stuff is coming up so we can go, oh shit, I'm giving it away here and I can't do that anymore.
yeah.
Or oh my gosh, this really lights me up. And when I finish doing this, I feel like I could set the world on fire. Well shit, get some more of that. Like that's what's all of these things are coming up so that we can see. We
Yeah.
can see like, oh, this is working and this is not.
Yeah.
And that's what we get to pay attention to right now so that we have because we're electrical beings, so we can be recharged, right? So what recharges you? Um, pay attention to that and get some more of those things. And, treat yourself like you would, your cell phone. It's got to be charged so you can use it. Like make sure you're recharging so that you have the resources to do what you need to do. Clearly, this is what recharges Sarah.
Anyone who knows me knows that. Well, he's been meowing. I don't know if you guys could hear him, and he would appear in a lot of my videos before, but not so much since I moved. But he really enjoys um, saying hello. So yeah, your animals, nature, breathe deeply, like Whitney's saying, it's definitely, yeah. Pay attention to how people make you feel, but also pay attention to how experiences make you feel, how your job makes you feel, how food makes you feel. All of these things. If you're doing something and it doesn't feel good, why are you doing it? Right? That's going to be the question or a theme that's going to come up here in 2023 is why are we continuing to do things? I've got fur all over me. It's fur. Why are we continuing to do things that don't feel good or that don't feed our soul? And usually, if we really ask ourselves, if we really just close our eyes and take a couple deep breaths or meditate on it, we're going to find that we're doing it because we feel guilty or we feel shame if we don't do those things. Like people say, "Oh, I'm gonna have a lazy Sunday." Why does it have to be a lazy Sunday? Why can't it just be, "I'm gonna have a Sunday and I'm gonna choose to do nothing today?" And And we have all these, again, labels that we slap onto. Oh, it's lazy if you don't do anything, or you're productive if you're busy. No, productivity can come from doing nothing. Sometimes, actually, I would even venture to say that, uh, personally, I feel more productive when I'm doing nothing lately, which seems completely against logic to say I feel more productive when I am doing absolutely nothing than when I'm trying to do something. Over the past several months, especially with Mars in retrograde, when I was trying to do something, nothing would work. I got nothing accomplished. It was like I was spinning my wheels backwards, when you're stuck in mud or you're stuck in snow. So then I just said, well, I might as well work with the energies. The energies want me to be doing nothing. So it took me a while to get comfortable and to appreciate the stillness and appreciate doing nothing. Another question for anyone out there watching or watching the replay is, how comfortable are you with putting your phone down? Notice how many times, and I am so guilty of this.
Mm.
I'm working on my addiction to social media or addiction to the phone. You're just sitting there, the TV's off, maybe you're home alone if you're lucky enough to have some moments alone, and you pick up your phone and you scroll. Who can I text? Who can I call? Oh, let me get on Instagram. Let me check YouTube. Let me Google this thing because I thought about this 5 days ago. Your ego will try to keep you busy. It doesn't want you to be doing nothing, because if you do nothing, the ego dies. The ego is fearing its own death. So get more and more comfortable. Do this today, guys. Do this for the rest of today, and I will do it as well. Notice how many times, I want you to clock how many times you pick up your phone when you're bored or when there's stillness.
I
I
think this
mean,
is where busyness comes from, is because when you are busy, you don't have the opportunity to um, tune into your intuition,
right.
or fall into meditation, or receive all of these insights. And
Yeah.
so this construct that keeps us going, 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 so that we don't notice, we don't evolve, we don't shift, we don't change. So you are very right. The phones are a very dangerous little world.
I mean, it's this little thing. I went to grab it, but I'm recording on it. But anyway, it's this tiny little square or rectangular thing, and it's the information highway. It holds all this information, and we have everything we need at our fingertips. And it's really, yes, there's beautiful, amazing, positive things about the interwebs, but there's also a lot that we need to be wary of and cautious of, because it's taking us away from our humanity. It's taking us away from our intuition. You're right. When we're busy, whatever busy means, I don't even know what the definition of it is. It's bullshit. But when we're busy, where we fill our day with stuff, we're filling our mind with stuff, and we're not. I mean, how many people do you know that? And this could be, an ex. I know, for some of you, it'll be a parent or an ex or a friend who's constantly busy, and by the end of the day, they're so exhausted, they don't even have time to sit with themselves, much less meditate. I just mean sit with themselves in silence. I know so many people that probably can't remember the last time if they've ever sat with themselves just to be with themselves.
Well,
So,
I said to someone recently that they used busyness the way I used to use alcohol. And it is a way to avoid all of the thoughts and the feelings, because when we sit in stillness, we are forced to um, acknowledge places where we're not satisfied, places where we're not happy. And if we acknowledge that, then it's like, oh well, shit. Now I got to do something about it. But if I don't take time to actually notice where I'm unhappy, then I don't have to do anything about it, and I can just coast along.
and live
So
the same day over and over again until it's 2 decades later and you realize nothing has changed. You still have the 20 pounds on, or you're still in the broken relationship, or you're still in a job that you hate, or whatever the situation, because you never actually tuned in to what your joy would look like, what your peace would feel like.
yes, because it requires work to do that, and the work is hard.
It is. And again, this is where the spiritual bypassing, love and light. No, no. And then people get on the journey and they go, "Oh, I'm going to feel great. This is going to be great. I'm going to free myself." And they don't realize is Then they have the storm of the dark night. And then they have the ego death. And then their partner leaves, or their marriage breaks up, or they lose their job because these things were never them. Anything that's left your life in the last 3 years was not you. If it was a career, clients, a job, uh, uh, your some aspect of your personality, relationship, anything that left was not you. You defined it as you, but it wasn't you. And I think that's so important to separate the things that we did or the choices that we made with who we truly are. If it left, it needed to go. That was part of the process. And that was what was so scary about the world shutting down for some people. Those of us doing the work were like, oh, I've been doing this for years. Welcome to the ego death, my friends. Come on in, come on in. Here it is. Sit down, lie down. You're going to cry. You're going to be angry. We already knew what was going to happen. But the people who had no idea were like, holy shit. So you saw marriages disintegrate. You saw people realizing I hate my job, the suicides happen. All of these things occurred because people realized I am really unhappy. Some people couldn't handle it. It was too much, understandably so. Other people still tried to, sweep it under the rug. And guess what? The problems are going to continue to crop up. They might have gotten a divorce to jump back into another relationship, realizing they're repeating the same patterns because they didn't actually address the problem in the first place, or they left a job and found another one just like it. And that's what a lot of people I noticed did during the past 3 years. But those of us really digging in and doing the work are like, there's no way out. You have to go through. And we know this. We see people skirting around trying to go through the fence. Like on the other side, they've jumped the fence, they got electrocuted, they don't care. They're on the other side thinking they got, scotch free. And those of us going through the fire are like, you can't. You're going to end up, it's a maze. You're going to end up back here anyway. So I think it's really important that we understand that we cannot sugarcoat this journey. I've never tried to sugarcoat this journey. And I'm sure I've said it, I'll say it again. I could have had probably so many more subscribers had I sugarcoated everything, sugarcoated the twin flame journey. And I didn't. And there are people out there sugarcoating it. And that's what people wanted to hear. So then I spoke the truth about, the challenges and the pain and the real work, which is you. Not everybody wanted to hear that, and that's perfectly fine. But the truth will always be revealed. So we put our energy, as Whitney has said when we talked about twin flames many times, you put your energy in another person and you don't actually, then you're distracting. And then you don't actually have to do your work because they serve as a distraction from you doing your work. So go ahead or blaming the other person. Well, my twin is doing this, or my partner or husband or wife or whatever it might be, or friend is boss is doing this. And so that means that no, that's the old mentality of I am a victim of my life. I'm a victim of my circumstances. And it's
Which would
real
be
fun to
lovely,
play that
but we are
game.
we are all responsible for our own choices.
But we've all played the victim game, right? From time to time. It's fun because you play the victim game, then you don't actually have to address your stuff. You just blame it on Annie and Ed and Frank and Tyler. It's like, let me blame it on everybody so that I don't actually have to look at my shit. When you look at your shit, it's not pretty. It is not pretty. And you realize, wow, I've acted narcissistically, right? I've been an asshole. I've said things I didn't like. I've done things I'm not proud of. Nobody wants to talk about that stuff because it's not pretty.
No, you're right, Christian. It's everything you're saying is spot on, Christian. No, it is not. It, when I had to stop and look in the mirror and acknowledge who I was and the choices I had made, um, I was like, yeah, not everybody's got the ability to do this. They can't
Yeah.
handle what they see because it's.
Yeah.
I was like, not proud at
Well,
all.
it's like you look in the mirror and you see a monster. That's what the true spiritual transformative process feels like. A true spiritual awakening, you're like, "Oh my God." Or you see the world as a monster, right? And who really wants to wake up and see that? It's much easier to go back to sleep, go under the covers and see Mickey and Minnie Mouse.
Or to believe that like I was the one with the moral high ground or I had
Yep.
made the best choices when in reality I was like, well, That's not the case. And I am not proud of who I was in that moment or the choices I made there or the place from which I was operating. Um, and then you get to a point, thank God, like bless the saints, you do get to a point where you can look back on the person that you were and offer grace for who they were and the choices they made. And I can do it now with gratitude because it's because of those choices that I ended up, in the underworld, that I ended up, taking the journey I took. Not that it's over. I don't think it's ever over, but some of the worst parts, the darkest parts, the ickiest moments of shedding ego, of who I had been, like I'm grateful for all of that now. But
Yeah.
I definitely wasn't grateful for it in the moments. Like
Mm-mm.
no. Like I wanted nothing more than to run away. But once you start, it doesn't stop.
No. Like once you've opened that door, turned on that light, you can't go back. And people will try. People, it's kind of like a dog, like a scared dog that's lost but wants a home but doesn't know. But I don't know if I can trust humans. It's kind of, oh, you kind of go towards the light, but you're like, oh God, that's there's a fire I have to walk through, and there's gravel and it's gonna hurt. I don't want to do that. It's cold. So you try to go back, but then you're always drawn back to it because the path is the path. And like I've said, even if I've watched people, I've done it myself. I've watched myself veer off over here and I'm like, oh, I beat it. And then I get back on the path and I'm like, shit, I didn't beat it. It's waiting for me. It's been waiting for me this entire time. So you can go over there and you can have your party, but just know you're going to end up right back on the path. And I think for some people, that's very overwhelming, depending on your mental health, depending on your emotional health or your traumas. So, it takes a village. We can't do this alone. The work that Whitney and I are called to do at this time is, that's why I expanded beyond twin flames. It became so much more than twin flames. That felt like such a narrow concept and a narrow tunnel. And I had to expand because the work is to reach as many people as possible, for us to work together as brothers and sisters, for us to, conquer this awakening together. Nobody can do this alone. And I think, if even if you just find one person you can trust, whether it's in my community or another community, or it's a friend or anybody in your life, one person that you can talk to, you're so much more ahead of the game than somebody who has nobody. So my
Well, but
work
part
has
of that is
always,
that we need somebody who can mirror back to us that this is not, that we're not crazy or
yeah,
that we're not awful or that this does continue to move.
yeah,
Some of that is just needing a little bit of feedback, and some of it's needing to know that we are not alone because it's work that we have to do on our own, but we don't
yeah,
have to do it by ourselves. Like
yeah,
we're the only ones that can do the work. I liken it to not that I'm a runner, but you see the people who do the marathons, and there are
yeah,
people on the sidelines that cheer them on. The
yeah.
people on the sidelines are not doing the running, but they are the ones that help the runners continue. So,
I agree.
it's very much like that.
I never thought of it that way, but I think they're just as important as the runners, because, or think about the people handing out the water cups, anybody. If you didn't have those people, you might stop. You might be at, mile 15 or whatever, and you might just stop. But if you have someone saying you can do it, that might be all you need to keep going.
Yeah.
And that has always been my hope, that one person, one soul hears something, sees something, and goes, oh my God, that's exactly what I needed. I can keep going because I know that I'm not alone, and I know that I'm understood, and I know that now I feel seen and I feel heard. You put a voice to what I was going through. And Whitney and I, as writers, that's what we hope to do, is put a voice to what it is that you're going through, that we're all going through. And everyone has their own beautiful, unique voice. And we want to help you find that voice. So, what I'd like to do, Whitney, so we're going to wrap up here. We wanted to keep it somewhat short just because it's sort of like we're working with the energies, and the energies right now are, we don't have a large attention span. which is okay. We can all admit that to ourselves. It's okay. It's what we're working with. But we're going to be doing a lot more lives on this channel and on my sister channel. So I'd like us each to pull one card. And we wanted to just let you guys know also. So this is the formal introduction of our March Foundational Energetics course. We'll be starting it at the end of March. And we are very excited. This is very much it's a passion project, but it's born from love. It's about 6 months in the making. It's something we've been talking about for several months, but I think it even was born before that.
Mhm.
And there's so much that's going to go into this course. We'll release more details here over the next several weeks, but we would love to have you join us. And we would love to have you join us here in the lives and ask questions on these lives. That's what they're here for. We want to help, we want to encourage, we want to support, and we want to create a community that will just uplift and uplift and uplift as we go through this year and beyond.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Do you want to go or you want me to go?
Go ahead, you go, and I'll
All
shuffle
right.
here.
Oh, this is happy. All right.
Okay.
So I got the lion. It's in you. So you've got. I'm sure a lot of us are familiar with the Wizard of Oz, and you've got the Cowardly Lion. So we are currently walking the path of shifting from the Cowardly Lion into the confident lion. And right now the question is, what if instead of running after other people or looking to others for validation or looking to others to give us what it is that we think we need, what if we turned inward and realized it was within us all along? What if
Mm,
we realized that everything that we have that we need is right here? We can self source our healing, we can self source our knowledge, we can we can find everything that we are looking for by going within. So all of this courage, all of the bravery required to walk this path, it already exists within us. We don't need it from someone else. And that's the major message right now, is that everything we're looking for, we already possess.
mm. That felt like a punch in the gut in all the right ways.
Now, this was so apropos for
Yeah.
today.
Yeah. Yeah, they always are, though. They
I
always are.
know.
When we're
I know.
aligned with the messages, we can receive them. But no, I just had to kind of sit still. I was shuffling, and it literally felt like I even feel a little nauseous. But I know that's because it's resonating.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'd like us to do, I think there's 18 people right now live. I just want us to, we're gonna do lion's breath actually. So I'm gonna have you close your eyes. Actually, I'll demonstrate and then I'm gonna have you close your eyes and we're just gonna take 3 lion's breaths together. Some of you might be familiar with it if you've studied yoga or pranayama or anything like that or energy work, but it looks funny, so I'll demonstrate and then we'll do it together. And it's not only purifying, but it's so uplifting and supportive of these energies. So you just take a normal breath in and try to breathe in with the belly, let it rise through the chest, through the rib cage, expanding the rib cage as you go. And then as the breath hits about here, you're going to do this. You're going to go inhale. Ah. So you open your mouth, you relax the muscles of your face and your jaw and your tongue. Let the tongue fall out. And I want you to really push that air out. So draw belly button to spine and really expel all of that stale, stagnant energy and air. You're going to feel amazing afterwards. So we'll do 3 of them together. So go ahead and close your eyes. Take a nice deep breath in, and on the exhale, open and let it all out. Inhale. Ah. Think of it as a long, deep sigh on the exhale. So, second one, inhale in. Ah. Relaxing everything and really make this one count. Last one, number 3, inhale in. Ah. Just keep your eyes closed. And I want you to just notice how you feel. Notice the energy in your face, what has shifted, what has realigned, what has left and exited your body or your mind. Do you feel more expansive, more at peace? And then when you're ready, you can go ahead and open your eyes. So let that beautiful energy of the breath just power you throughout your day, really lifting you up, holding that energy in your solar plexus. We're doing a lot of work in that solar plexus, but also in the throat right now. So, the energy will move up through the chakras. So, any chakra work that you can delve into right now, any energy work, aligning your chakras will be so powerful. And again, in our energetics course in March, we're going to address astrology, energetics, the chakras. We're going to use writing as a tool. We're going to use, there's so much to incorporate into this course. And we're going to be sharing for those of you who decide or opt not to join the course for whatever reason. We'll be here on the channel, we'll be sharing these lives. We'll be doing our monthly webinars with you as well. So you can always hop onto those. So we're going to be here either way. But in whatever capacity, whether this is your first and only video or you've been a subscriber for a while, we so appreciate you. Lindsay, I wanted to say, I saw your comment a while ago, but Whitney was talking. It's so good to see you. And Chris, and we have Christina. Let me see if I can just look back real quick. Chris, thank you so much. Sierra, yes, looking forward to Saturn moving out of Aquarius. Abso-freaking-lutely. There's a huge energetic shift in March, guys. Huge, huge, huge. Who else? Serena, of course. Serena, Infinity Beyond. Hello. Luna Ray, hey, hey. Good. It's so good to see familiar faces from the other channel, guys. It's so good to see you. And for anyone watching the replay, we see you. We appreciate you. And if you have any questions and you're watching the replay or you think of them after, leave them in the chat and Whitney and I will address those, okay? Have a beautiful, beautiful day, guys, wherever you are in the world. We love you. We see you and we appreciate you. Take care, guys. See you
Thanks,
soon.
guys.